Tonight, a woman and her daughter reunite after nearly 2 decades and surviving torment in Iran. And Saskatoon Police are trying to track down 3 people after someone was shot and killed in broad daylight. Plus, Regina Police say a house explosion was caused by a compromised gas line, and they hope people in the area may have clues to catch the culprit.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Friday, December 2nd. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. This week, Saskatoon has experienced some of the lowest temperatures we've seen in a long time. Thankfully, there's a new shelter to help keep people warm. CBC's Regina has more on how this new space is filling gaps in the system.
This is our overflow pod, so we have a men's pod, a women's pod, and a family pod.
The Saskatoon Tribal Council's new shelter has 106 beds, including 31 that used to be at the Lighthouse Supported Living Facility downtown. The new shelter moved from downtown to the Fairhaven neighborhood, about 15 minutes away.
At the end of the day, you can see inside of our facility, it's a bigger facility than downtown. Right now, you see it's a calmer atmosphere.
97 clients are currently staying at the shelter amid life-threatening winter temperatures and a high risk for frostbite and hypothermia.
If all of our pods are full, that means we're at capacity with all the beds that we're allowed. So we can use this area as a warm-up shelter, but they're not going to be kicked outside.
But Chief Arkan says the STC will be closing its downtown shelter this Sunday, which is currently being used as a warm-up site. He says there's only enough funding to keep it running 12 hours a day.
I don't feel good about having people say they can only come in at 10 o'clock at night and leave at 10 o'clock in the morning. Those are one of the stipulations. And because right now it's minus 30 outside. It's not right. It's not humane. We shouldn't be kicking people out during the day and then telling them to come back at 10 o'clock at night.
Arkan says an outreach team will drive around downtown till 1 a.m. and offer people a ride to the new location, though he acknowledges some people don't want to leave downtown.
Have taken me in.
Mark was staying at the downtown location for the past few weeks. He says he prefers the new site.
It's beautiful. You know what? Well structured, well set up, well planned.
Clients can stay at the shelter for as long as 4 months, hopefully enough time to get through the frigid winter. Regina, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Regina Police are now saying a compromised gas line caused a huge house explosion in North Central last month. The multi-unit home blew up on November 13th, causing massive damage. Luckily, no one was inside and no one was injured. Even though police say the blast was accidental, they believe the gas line was intentionally damaged the morning of the explosion. Police think someone in the area may have evidence without realizing it.
We'd like to reach out and see if there's any video out there. We know that many cameras were destroyed because of the event, but most of that stuff is stored in the cloud or on a hard drive. So we're looking for some evidence that may come forward of any suspicious activity, and we're asking for people to check their cameras.
The house is located at 1202 Retallick Street. Police think the gas line was compromised between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. on November 30th. Saskatoon Police are investigating the city's 10th homicide of the year, and they're looking for the public's help. 21-year-old man was fatally shot yesterday in broad daylight. Police have released photos and names of 3 people they want to question. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
Police want to talk to Reagan and Cassie Apunichow and the third man, now identified as Zenon Thomas. They're not saying where they were going or what they were doing in this stairwell.
But they think it may have had something to do with this. This was the scene yesterday just before noon on 21st Street. Police are still trying to piece it all together. What we know is that people traveling in this minivan waved down a police cruiser just before lunch. They had an injured man inside. The 21-year-old man had been shot and he was declared dead at hospital. Now, police know who he is and they've notified his family, but they're not releasing his name. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations is once again raising concerns about how Indigenous people are treated in correctional institutions. This after an Indigenous man says he was assaulted at the Saskatchewan Penitentiary in Prince Albert last month. Kiyu four-star told his mother,
My message is hard. My message is hard to hear. My child wasn't in a safe place. It's a mother's.
Kiyu four-star told his mother that guards beat him in his cell while he was in handcuffs. Four-star says he was also denied access to mental health medication. Since the incident, Four-star has been moved to another facility. His mother says he is doing much better there, but she's still concerned.
My message is hard to hear. My child wasn't in a safe place. It's a mother's worst nightmare. I feel sorry for him. I love him. And he's been telling me he feels empty and depressed. I know he's in jail, but he suffers mental health issues, and there's nothing I can do about it. Sometimes I was afraid to hang up with my boy.
The Correctional Service of Canada says as soon as Saskatchewan Penitentiary Management was made aware of the incident, it contacted the RCMP. Those involved have been placed on leave during a disciplinary investigation. The FSIN will be keeping an eye on that investigation. It's also asking for more protection and rehabilitation for Four-star. The holiday season brings with it the anticipation of seeing family and friends. This year, it will be extra special for a Saskatoon woman and her daughter. That's because they'll be spending the holidays together for the first time in 18 years. The CBC's Pratush Dayal has their story.
All these years, I'm in hiding.
Things are happy now, but they haven't always been that way. When she was just 16, Suraya was married to a well-connected man in the Iranian government. She says her life was full of misery. We have used different names to protect her identity and keep her family safe.
It was exactly the arrangement marriage. And when I delivered the third girl, so my husband left me because I couldn't have boy. And so he left and he got married with several wives.
Things got worse when she converted to Christianity and sent her daughters away from Iran to prevent arranged marriages.
He tried to find me. He found me, and I had very bad punishment again from him. He broke my right hand and my left leg. That I couldn't move. So.
Determined, she sent her youngest daughter Nahid to study in India in 2004, and that's when the family was separated. In 2012, Suraya made it to Turkey, where she was declared a refugee and later sponsored to come to Saskatoon. But her daughter Nahid had to go back to Iran to work for her father, who was very angry.
I was in the...
Nahid says she slept on chairs for 8 years with only a towel to use as a pillow and blanket.
Whatever they had guessed or they were eating, whatever it was left over, he was saying me that, okay, that's yours. It was not even a portion of food for a adult person. So he was keeping me hungry.
Nahid says one of her father's employees sexually assaulted her. She got pregnant and gave birth to a daughter who has health complications. It took 5 years of bureaucracy and legal struggles for Suraya to be reunited with her daughter and granddaughter.
In my life, it was my just wishes and my dream that to attend to the university. And I tried all my best to help my daughters not to be in my situation.
Now that she's in Canada, Nahid says she hopes to continue her education and give her daughter a better future. Pratush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The province has a new political party. Elections Saskatchewan has registered the Saskatchewan United Party. The party is already represented in the Legislative Assembly. It has named Nadine Wilson as its first leader. She's the MLA for Saskatchewan Rivers. Saskatchewan Party MLA Everett Hindley called on Wilson to run in a by-election.
I, too, would encourage the member for Saskatchewan Rivers to listen to the people of her constituency by running in a by-election, Mr. Speaker. if that's, and we, each and every one of us is elected to represent our constituents, and I would encourage her to do the same, Mr. Speaker. And she has a new party of which she's apparently the leader, Mr. Speaker. And I'd encourage her to run in that by-election and put that question to her constituents.
I don't even have my official letter yet for the new party, but what I will do is continue to fight for the people of Saskatchewan Rivers and the province.
In September 2021, Wilson resigned from the Saskatchewan Party caucus after misrepresenting her COVID vaccination status. Yesterday, Wilson was joined by people in the legislature who suffered what she described as vaccine injuries. She wants the government to look into their claims. Don't let the blue sky fool you. There's a reason there weren't many walkers out today. The deep freeze has settled in across much of the province. We'll be back with your full weekend forecast after the break. A group of students in Quebec is finding a way to soar using music. The young artists created a song called They Fly. They were helped by an Indigenous-led not-for-profit organization that works to amplify the voices of Indigenous youth. Hear about it from the talented four themselves.
Been learning and I wish you knew that we're not alone. I'm feeling stronger. Just take me higher. Fuel to my fire is a sky that's filled with colors.
It really got me in touch with how I feel about Indigenous and then the issues that surround it and our voices. I found that it really helped me get in touch with all that. I think Native representation on screens is very important for young Native Indigenous children to see that they can really become something. I found that it really pushed my boundaries. My confidence is boosted. I feel just more confident.
I'm a young soul, just starting the journey. So many possibilities as part of the learning.
I really wanted to participate in this because, you don't usually see mixed natives or natives with, blue eyes or super pale skin represented on TV or just anywhere. We all each had kind of our own thing we wanted to talk about. And then in the center of the song is They Fly. And it's, we are all starting to have new opportunities. It helped a lot because I don't really have very many Native friends. So, to get to be with other Indigenous people that are not my family, to kind of learn more about Indigenous culture.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. 22 model clear out is on now.
Heather Morrison joins us now with a look at our weather forecast. Heather, how long until we get a break from these frigid temperatures?
All right, we've got about one more day to go here, Natasha, but it's gonna be a doozy. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with right now in the province. These are the extreme cold warnings. So as you can see, it's basically the entire middle section of the province. We're starting up there at the northwest part. That's about Meadow Lake region, dropping all the way down to Kindersley, making our way across down to Yorkton, and then up to Hudson Bay, Porcupine Plain, and everything in between, including the city of Saskatoon. So there's a lot of extreme cold. What this means is these wind chills are going to drop below potentially -40. Frostbite happens in minutes, but this is not the only cold spot in the province. It's not just happening to this section. Let's take a look at these current temperatures. So as you can see, we are still quite chilly and definitely well below seasonal for most of the province right now. In Wynyard, -26, -28 in Saskatoon. And then with the wind chill, it gets even more intense. So these are the wind chills that we're going to be waking up to tomorrow morning. As you can see, Stony Rapids definitely getting their fair share of these really chilly temperatures, like a -38 when they wake up tomorrow morning. But here's the good news, Natasha, is this is as we get, so the darker colors here, the brighter, the purples, the pinks, that means colder weather. And as you can see, as we move on Saturday, we see a bit of a warm up into Sunday. Don't those bright blues look really nice? Here's what's going on in terms of our province. So right now we're under a high pressure system. We got this cold Arctic air that's locked over the province. Now, as we head into tomorrow, you'll see that we're still with that cold air. That's why we're only seeing a warm up tomorrow about 4 or 5 degrees. We got a little bit of a system that's going to make our way, its way across the Churchill region there. So bringing a little bit of snow across, and then boom, this is the big deal on Sunday. So this is a low pressure system that's coming in from the north, and it's going to make its way southeast across the province. So as you can see, it's really stuck in the northern area. Even in Saskatoon, they're not quite calling for snow on Sunday, but you can see that we're going to get a big, large amount of snow up in the northern region of the province. Now that is going to make its way on, and as it comes in, it's bringing in these warmer temperatures, but as it sweeps away, boom, that cold Arctic air can come back in. So what does that mean in terms of temperatures? Well, let's take a look. Tomorrow in Regina, minus 14 is the high. That is a little bit better than we did today. I think we only got up to minus 17 or something in Regina. But as you can see, Sunday, it warms up, minus 5, and then we drop right back down on Monday as that low pressure system clears and that cold Arctic air comes in again. So Saskatoon, very similar story here on Saturday, minus 15, and then Sunday, look at that, minus 6. It feels so good. That's right on normal. And then boom, Monday, we're going right back into it. So I would just say, if there's anything that you want to get out and enjoy this weekend, make sure that it is on Sunday. And Natasha, that's a look at your weather forecast.
That's great advice, Heather. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
It's busy season at the North Pole, but that doesn't mean Santa can't take a little time out from checking his list for some aquatic fun. Scuba Claws, helped by an elf, of course, plunged into a fish tank in Malta's National Aquarium to hand out treats to sharks and fish. No presents for these critters, though. The aquarium residents will have to wait until Christmas Day, just like everyone else. We'll be back after the break.
Make the season kind. For the month of December, CBC is supporting those in need through food banks of Saskatchewan. Visit cbc.ca/BeKindSK to find out how you can make the season kind.
Welcome back. A L'Orange writer and environmental activist is worried about threats to the forest and muskeg in Saskatchewan's north. So Miriam Corner decided to write a book in hopes of getting kids to think more about the land. Take a look.
It terrifies me, the thought that if we don't care, if we don't take care of the forest right now, what are we going to lose? My name is Miriam Corner. I'm a writer and illustrator for children and young adults. And I'm also an activist trying to protect our muskegs and forests up here in the north.
So I always felt kind of drawn to the muskeg. It's like a sanctuary where nature is left to do what nature does. And when I'm hearing this place is threatened by development, the first thing I think about is the caribou, the woodland caribou that are endangered and that are living here in this area.
So yeah, behind me you can see the title page for Fox and Bear. I decided to use just recycled cardboard. I made the book is because I was really upset about the clear cuts that were happening all around me. I love the forest and I spend a lot of time in the forest with my dogs in wintertime, with my canoe in the summertime. And I have so much appreciation for what the forest provides for us. And when I saw that being destroyed, I was really upset. By the end of the harvesting plan, there will not be a forest left that hasn't been cut at one time.
Yeah, so all the lumber we're seeing there, the trees being there, they're just gonna push that into that big slush pile. It's gonna burn it.
But there was no way of really telling that story. So I thought, I'm gonna make a book about it. I'm gonna make a book, a modern fable of sorts, that tells the story about my own grief in a way, but also ask the question, at what point did we go wrong? At what point did we disconnect from the natural world? And I don't have an answer to that question, but it's something that I've been always thinking about. When in history did we move away from appreciating what the forest provides for us to seeing it as a resource to be extracted? the disconnect is a lot further away in history, while in Indigenous cultures, it's very recent with colonization. So fox and bear became for me a way to express my grief, but it's also a story of hope. I think children are such great teachers. Like, children have such incredible compassion, almost desensitized as adults. At the beginning of the book, Fox and Bear just go out in the forest and gather what there's to gather and hunt what there's to hunt. And Bear loves picking berries and Fox loves hunting eggs. And life is pretty good. Humans we are always striving for the one thing that nature isn't willing to give: convenience. One day, Fox decides he's going to make life more productive and efficient. As Fox becomes industrious and starts cutting down trees to, fire his steam engines so that he can water, that he can, run his irrigation system and all the little things he does to be more convenient. Eventually, they cut down the tree with the ravens, and the ravens die. But then, as the cycle comes to an end, it starts exactly at page 1. You can actually see the stumps still that were left from the trees that were on the first page. Makes Bear so tired in the end that he just goes back, and I think back to the beginning where he just goes into the forest and Fox asks, "What are you going to do there?" And he will say, "I'm going to hunt what there's to hunt and gather what there's to gather." Animals, they do represent human traits, and I think it's easier for us to have an honest look at ourselves if we, can do that via a metaphor. Coming up here and living here, I realized colonization in some areas, that's only a couple hundred years ago, where people were able to live off the land. I do want that it raises questions, and I do want that it starts discussions. And I do want us to think like children. Why can't we stop this? We created all this. Why can't we create something new that brings us back into a relation with the natural world?
That video was produced by Brandon White in collaboration with the CBC Creator Network. You can watch more videos and learn how to pitch your story at cbc.ca/Creator Network SK. Heather Morrison is back with a final look at our forecast. What can we expect overnight, Heather?
Well, Natasha, it's going to be another chilly night here in the province. Let's take a look at what Regina is going to be dealing with overnight. Minus 23 with that wind chill. It feels like minus 32, and it's going to be quite a frosty one to wake up to tomorrow. Well, this is about noon tomorrow, so you can see we are getting a bit of a warm up throughout the day. Wind chill feels like minus 26. The good news is you do get sunshine tomorrow. In Saskatoon, we're under an extreme cold warning, minus 26 with the wind chill, minus 38 overnight, and not improving much for the morning. By noon, though, we will get that little bit of a warm up, minus 19 with the wind chill. It feels like minus 30, though. And if you're wondering truly, Natasha, how cold it is in Saskatoon, well, I decided that I would do my last hit wearing ski pants. Do you hear that sound, Natasha? That is the sound of winter in Saskatoon. It sounds like swishing.
Now I feel silly that I didn't wear mine. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
That's it for us tonight. Glenn Reed is back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.